Hello, everybody, and how you guys doing? Today, I'm just doing a little podcast talk while I'm sitting here playing with Frostpunk, which is behind me. If he wants to join in, he can. I decided to do kind of a little podcast on the things on my favorite stuff that Ghost Hunter teams do, and my least favorite stuff that Ghost Hunter teams do.
There are a lot of fucking shit that we can talk about.
Oh, yes, there is, and that's why I figured you'd probably really love to join this one. So, I don't know if maybe Trey might join us later on, knowing how things go, but for right now, uh, let's start talking a little bit about the things that we like from ghost hunting teams. We're definitely going to be referencing some very famous ones on both ends of the spectrum. Um, so be ready for that. Since Lich seems to be pretty eager to join in, what is let's start on a good note. What is one of your favorite things that ghost hunting teams do?
Well, I do like that they go into the history of it. That's the biggest thing. And you actually get to learn about the place.
Yeah, I actually do like that, especially with taps and Ghost Brothers and stuff like that, because they actually look into the actual history of it. They look into not only the history of it and just sit there and go, "Oh, well, this and this must be this person." They're actually trying to experiment to see maybe it's this person. We don't know, but we're gonna try and figure out if there is some way that we can use this as a means to see what's going on. Um, I can't. Uh, I'm gonna say one of my least favorite things that some ghost hunter teams will do. I'm just gonna say it straight up. Looking at you, Zach Baggins, is when they have been ghost hunters for decades, and yet they seem to learn absolutely nothing. And I'm talking especially with Zach Baggins, who has been ghost hunting for years and has essentially devolved into calling anything that so much as lightly bumps him a demon. Even though he goes in there screaming and hollering and hooting like he's a gorilla in heat and threatening these things in their home. I mean, you want to say something there, Lich?
I don't have to say anything. My hatred is enough.
But yeah, no, obviously, yeah, like I said, that's not a good way to really do things, especially if you are a ghost hunter, because your whole thing as a ghost hunter is to go in, do research, try and find out what's there. And if you go in already with this idea of what's there without actually having done any of the research to see what's there, that's definitely a disservice to not only, the spirits of the people that are there, if there are spirits in that location. And, to go back to what I'm saying with being a ghost hunter for years and not learning anything. Because I'll see this some cases where they'll go in and they will insult these spirits and act like these things don't have any right to be there But in reality, if we're going to be honest, these spirits have lived there. This is their home. And one of the things that I definitely will say that people do kind of need to understand is the whole universe doesn't center around you. And unfortunately, that may not be something that people want to hear necessarily, but it's the truth. And unfortunately, we get a lot of times where, for for some strange reason, you get these people that truly do think that the dead have no power, and we'd have to beg to differ. Um, just for reference, Lit, you want to talk a little bit about your history with the ghosts and spirits of the world?
Where do I fucking begin?
So, just for a little reference, okay, Lich has lived nearly nonstop in just haunted houses, apartment complexes, just the sheer, I don't know if you want to say good or bad fortune of just being one of the people to end up living in these kind of places on a nonstop basis. So, I mean, just as a reference, I mean, how do you feel about it, Lich?
Uh,
I mean, so for reference, what all have you actually experienced through your life?
uh, let's see. I've seen way too much shit to even be able to even think about where to even start.
Just pick a random thing.
Uh, the Native American chief that used to live on, or that's home. What it's his burial ground was on where I used to live before moving to Florida. Would see him a lot. Him, his shaman, and his daughter on a constant basis.
Hmm.
I mean, I honestly don't know what exactly. I've had way more bad experiences than I've had good experiences.
Yeah, I think you've told me a few of them. Um, my so just to say, one of my experiences growing up, uh, we owned a house here in Florida, and I really hadn't experienced anything paranormal until moving here. But I know we're going way off topic, but let's talk a little about this. So people, because I know if we're going to be talking about this, people are going to be like, "Well, how would you know? You've never dealt with the paranormal. You're talking out your butt or whatever, you know." But it's like my dad's old house that he used to own here in Florida. One of my experiences was one night I was still in elementary school at the time, and I was watching, I think, some kind of movie with a friend at the time, and where we were sitting, the living room was right next to the front door, and you had windows right there where you could see outside. Hi, Moon Pie, come here. And one of the experiences that I had was weirdly, we looked over and we had a street light that was literally right there that the previous owner had installed on the property. So you had light into the driveway and all that stuff, so you could see outside. And we see what looks like the black full body figure of a man dash across the porch, but only through the front door window. So we didn't see him through the windows that were right next to the door, which if you had somebody running past the window, running past the porch or something, you would have seen that shadow not only in the door window, but right in those windows. We got my dad. He went out to try and check and see if there was anyone out there. There was no one there. There were no footprints. There were no tracks of anybody being there. And this was not anybody that lived in that house. Like, this person was slim. I will almost say like almost athletic looking by their shadow. Because my dad's a hefty guy, so am I. So it definitely wasn't any member of my family. And it was too short to be my sister, who was like 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
Meow. But anyhow, so this is just some of the experiences we've had. So looking back as well is just these ghost hunters that seem to just not learn at all from their experiences. Hi, Moon Pie. Meow. Um, so to go back to one of the things that we do like, I actually like a lot of the technology that they come out with.
Yeah, their technology is always awesome. Like, I remember when the first time I saw them, you know, repurpose the Xbox Connect system.
To make a camera that could
Yeah.
actually track ghosts and stuff like that in terms of like their body movements and whether they were there, which that actually was really cool. I think it was the first, I think one of my favorite first times when I first saw a ghost box or a spirit box, which is basically a repurposed radio that sweeps through frequencies at about 1,000 frequencies a second. And the whole idea of it is if you can get a consistent voice through all of the channels on the spirit box, then it's more likely to be an actual spirit than a person. Or at least that's the general consensus or the general idea of it, which I actually think is really, really neat and really interesting. Um, I actually really like a lot of the new ovuluses and stuff like that that they use too.
Oh yeah.
Like those are some really cool stuff. Ghost hunters can come up with some really cool, great technology to use, and we actually do a little bit of ghost hunting ourselves. We actually tried to do. We actually tried to videotape one of our things for YouTube, but it didn't really turn out too well because you couldn't really see.
We only had one camera.
Well, one camera that could actually see in the dark. So So your turn, Lynch. What is one of the things you don't like to see in a ghost hunting group?
I think you put it earlier with this thing. Like I really hate the whole point of them just constantly antagonizing. Then are asking the question you should never ask: do you know you're dead?
Yeah, that's actually a big question that a lot of people don't necessarily know is a bad question. Because in a lot of cases, what happens is ghosts or spirits may not actually know that they're dead. And asking that question or mentioning it can actually traumatize them. And I know it might shock people to hear the fact that you can actually traumatize a ghost. But what people have to understand about ghosts is that ghosts are technically people. They're still people. They still have emotions. They still have thoughts and ideas of what from their lives, from the life that they had. And that's why you'll still have ghosts of monks that are still practicing ancient Catholicism. Even though, I mean, me personally, I'd have the thought process of if I'm a ghost and my belief is either immediately die or go when you die you immediately either go to heaven or hell, and I'm still here, that might cause me to rethink my religion a little bit. But apparently, I'm not every dead person that is religious, I guess. Um, so one of the things I will say that I do like is on occasion when ghost hunters actually try to bring in other religions and other types of belief, even if they themselves don't actually believe in it. For example, when you have ghost hunters bringing in Native Americans and voodoo and Norse and other different beliefs that are actually in the world still. I myself still practice Kemetic or ancient Egyptian belief to an extent, liches, Celtic shamanic. So it's actually interesting for them to see them actually kind of bring that in on ghost hunting. It doesn't always end up well. I mean, you get some people that just make you go, why? Because they'll do something that we know will either, because we've actually researched into that belief system, that they shouldn't be doing because it's taboo or, something to that degree. But it's still good to actually see them doing that, especially when we're talking about families that might be in trouble or families that might be having issues because of entities that they're dealing with. Which brings me to one of the things I don't like. And this is when ghost hunters will bring in religious individuals who either botch or don't fully do cleansings and things like that. And I see this a lot with Christian clergy.
Yeah.
And what people, and so people, so you guys can understand what I'm talking about, is what will happen sometimes is these Christian clerics will go in and they'll bless the house or cleanse the house, but they won't bless or cleanse the energy of the family living there. And unfortunately, when it comes to hauntings and bad or negative entities, sometimes it's not necessarily the house that's haunted. It can be perhaps a member of the family that's being haunted specifically or being attached to by the negative entity. And so the way to properly do this is you cleanse the house, you cleanse the family, and then you set up things so that, for example, and stuff like me and Lich would do, is we would clean the house, cleanse the family, and then we would set up selenite in the four corners of the house, and then set up a bar of selenite over the roof. And that is to set up kind of a positive energy barrier to keep anything that's negative out so that it can't come in. And a lot of the times that's not being done. So then these families are still experiencing negative effects from these negative entities. Um, Next thing in a row there, Lich. So we talked about something negative. So how about something positive? Give him a minute, folks. His brain's like a lazy Susan sometimes.
Probably if they find specific, like, you know, artifacts or something like that, that they actually wind up, you know, taking them and taking care of them. It's not a lot, but there is a show that did this called The Haunted Collector.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Which I think Zach Baggins is trying to be slightly a haunted collector.
yeah.
Now, I know a lot of people are sitting there going, probably, why are you guys bragging on Zach Baggins? Well, to be fair, there was actually a time that I actually liked Zach Baggins' show. It was actually good once. Um, but the reason why we rag on Zach Baggins so much now is it's it's one of those things where it seems like he went from going forward in research and actually understanding the spirits and actually trying to understand these entities and took a straight slide backwards. And I do mean a straight slide backwards. And, there are some cases that, yeah, he actually does seem pretty okay. Um, Especially in his early years, it seemed like they actually did try to do some kind of research. But like I said, recently it seems like they just don't research anything at all. They don't actually try to look into any of the details or facts about certain things. Like how Zach Baggins started the Dybbuk box phenomenon that happened. Uh, like for a while, there were people who literally were selling Dybbuk boxes all over the internet. Um, just all that mess. And the problem is, believe it or not, what has been coming forward is that Dybbuks in the actual Jewish mythology don't work anywhere near what Zach Baggins and has been saying. I'm not saying that the negative effects didn't happen because of the box, but to say that it's a Dybbuk is not may not necessarily be accurate. I am going to say that it may be more accurate to say that it is a spirit that has been trapped in boxes, which that does happen. It's not necessarily a Jewish tradition to do it. Um, but then again, I don't really know that much about Jewish traditions. I remember specifically, though, however, another paranormal ghost hunting YouTuber who actually went to a professor of Jewish mythology and Jewish beliefs, and he literally explained to him that no, this is not how that works, that kind of thing. So that's that. I Like I said, that's pretty much it for us. That topic, I guess. So let's talk about something else that's interesting. So, Mitch, what is your favorite mythological creature?
The griffin?
Of course, you'd pick the horse bird.
No, no. The griffin is the lion bird. The hippogriff is the horse bird.
I always get those two mixed up for some reason. Um, I'm not gonna lie. One of my favorite mythological creatures has always been the dragon. But that's also because I grew up with movies like Brave, Dragonheart, and speaking of which, there's like a crap ton of those films now, aren't there? Of Dragonheart?
I think there's like 5 or 6.
And it all started with Sean Connery and not Liam Nelson, I don't think. But the villain, believe it or not, would actually end up playing Professor Lupin, which is strangely enough one of the only times that actor actually plays a good guy. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Like every other time, that particular actor plays the most douchiest douchebag, the most evil douchebag you can imagine, and he's the actor for that. I'm not saying he's not good at it. He is good at what he does. If you need somebody to play very evil bugger, he's definitely the guy to do it. Because I can't say outside of Harry Potter that I've actually seen him play a good guy. Have you?
I don't know.
Hmm. But so we got the Griffin, the Dragon. Another one of my, I guess, one of my favorite creatures in terms of the supernatural, the paranormal. That seems kind of interesting. Is maybe the Banshee, which the Banshee itself actually has quite a few different myths that go along with it. Because on one side, the Banshee is technically supposed to be a spirit of a long lost female ancestor coming to warn her clan that someone's going to die. And in some cases, it's a uh, harmful kind of sort of fae that's bringing about harm. So, I mean, what banshee myths have you heard there, Lich? Because I remember that one that definitely stuck out in my mind was, oddly enough, it was put on a Ghost Adventures live event way back in the day. This was actually back with good Zach Baggins, not bad Zach Baggins. Is it sad that I literally have to describe him as good and bad Zach Baggins?
Okay. Season 1 to 3 is good. Everything after that.
No, he's still good up to at least 5 or 6. Then he started sliding down. I think he really started sliding down in quality directly after the Demon House. Like he had that one encounter with a demon, so now he thinks everything that's negative is a demon. But if I remember the mythology correctly, this dude was exceptionally cruel to this woman, and she came back as a banshee and haunted him and his family and made them. I want to say she either made them really sick and drove them out of their castle, or eventually just drove the family line into extinction.
Yeah.
The wonderful things we talk about on Isaac and Friends.
I mean, I've run into a banshee as a kid.
I'm surprised you've probably run into a lot of negative stuff from living in an apartment that apparently was haunted by the spirits of satanic worshippers who managed to get themselves splatted by some dark entity that left their spirits there. Better build a coal mine here, real quick. Because, if I'm not correct, isn't that something that actually happened too?
Yeah, very much so.
I think the story was that when the police arrived, the only thing they found was somebody's skin plastered across the wall.
Yeah.
Some of the weird things that happen in our small ass town.
The sad thing is I found out about that literally right around Halloween.
Oh,
The first
lovely.
the first year I was there, because Halloween wasn't that far away. It was like I think we were there 3 months. Then Halloween hit,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, we heard that. I heard that, and I just went, "Well, that explains a lot." Because yeah, this this spirit's definitely had a weird. Actually, I shouldn't say have a weird way. No, they the room I was in. Yeah, even with my depression and stuff, I was way more suicidal than a normal person should have been.
Mm. Well, there's also the fact because you have certain conditions, you tend to be more susceptible to that kind of negative energy because negative energy does tend to make someone more suicidal. It tends to make them have more darker ideals and thoughts from time to time. Um, so Let's upgrade that. But like in my case, Lich has had some really bad experiences. I think he's been thrown, strangled.
I've been thrown through walls, strangled, punched, clawed,
I mean,
pushed down shit, thrown off stuff,
in my
kidney punched.
like in my case, the worst case I had was an uneasy feeling in a house, the shadow guy that ran across our front door, and the one time that my dad was yelling at me because he found the manual to my Warcraft 3 game and was upset because of the faction Cult of the Damned. It was telling me that I needed to throw it out because it was bringing in the devil and all this stuff. And we literally hear a woman crying, like someone, like a female being, like a woman fully upset. And we go to the kitchen where my mom is, and we ask her if she was crying, and she had not been crying at all. Like she wasn't chopping onions or anything like that, and she straight up said that she had not been crying. And of course, my dad used that even more as a thing to get rid of my game because he's like, "See, the demons are crying because I'm throwing them out."
Is it bad that as a kid, my thing to your dad was, "No, my game is crying because you're trying to throw it away."
But yay, we improved the functionality of our coal mine.
I mean, I have a somewhat similar story to that also involves World of Warcraft.
Oh, this wasn't World of Warcraft. This was straight up Warcraft 3, the RTS.
Yeah. Well, I don't know which one it was. It was the one with Iliad, is it?
Illidan?
Yeah.
That's Warcraft 3.
Yeah. When he was the dark.
Well, Illidan is a dark elf, but he's also a demon hunter.
Yeah. It
Because I think you're thinking of the Dark Elf campaign where he gets free or he's freed by the Moon Priestess during the invasion of the demons into their realm. Which I find it funny that my dad was upset by the faction of the Cult of the Damned, but didn't bother to read the rest of the strategy guide / manual. But what can you do? Religious parents are gonna religious.
believe it or not, my story wasn't like overly terrible, or it wasn't aggressive in the sense.
Mm-hmm.
It scared the shit out of us, but I don't know. Maybe if everyone wants to hear, I will literally tell all the stories I can remember.
I mean, you might as well do it now.
No, because that if I did that, it would take way too fucking long.
So what happened with your experience with the Warcraft thing? Because it actually makes me kind of curious. Is like, who else, in terms of just World of Warcraft, is getting hunted by this game somehow?
Well, it wasn't the game. It's what
It's what?
it was just the weird circumstance that just happened to be while we were playing the game.
Oh,
Because to make it simple, we're just actually we had just finished part of the game, and we were actually we were making dinner and talking about it,
mm-hmm.
and lights just popped off,
Huh.
and all we hear is we literally stared at each other. Of course, our phones are in his room. This is like a close friend of my family that I met.
Okay. So this was in his room. What happened?
So we went in there to go get our phones so we could have some damn light after smacking into the wall a few times. We got our phones, walked out. He had his bed. There was a door, and then there was the front door,
Mm-hmm.
and right fuck this. My memory is shot, so I only remember bits of it. So his room was right next to the front door.
Mm-hmm.
In front of the front door were stairs that went up to um, a second spot or a second floor.
Okay.
So we walked out of the room, just slightly turned to like go out to go, believe it or not, grab swords from the sword room that happened to be the computer room at the time.
What were y'all gonna do with swords and it's against whatever the hell kind of spirit?
Well, at the time, it was more of a let's get this because it's the middle of the fucking night and we still have to go outside.
Hmm.
So we went in there, grabbed two fucking swords off the wall. Or we didn't. We turned, looked, and at the top of the fucking stairs, there was like a chandelier at the top.
Mm-hmm.
We saw a fucking person hanging. Like full shadow body just hanging. At the time, we did not say anything to each other. We just walked into the room, grabbed some swords, and walked the fuck outside. He called his mother, and his mom and the neighbors were actually nice enough because they saw us come out and stand out like 50 feet away from the fucking house.
Hmm.
and asked what was wrong, and went in and checked and saw nothing. We walked back in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as soon as we were outside, we realized all around every house line was on around us. Ours wasn't the only house black. So the guy went in, checked the stuff, came back. I guess he switched the circuit breaker.
Mm-hmm.
So lights came back in, or came back on. We went back inside, sat on the couch, sat there, talked for a bit, and then he goes, you saw what I saw, right? You mean the hanging body upstairs before we left? Yeah. Yeah, I saw that shit. Um, yeah. Let's not go upstairs tonight.
Mm.
Better yet, let's sleep in the computer. Let us sleep it out here in the living room so we have an easy escape.
Mm.
And that's what we did.
Oh, I bet. I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna lie. Um, I think one night I was up for some reason in my dad's old house, and I was looking out my window, and I swear I saw this. I don't know why, but I saw what looked like this red object roll past our car.
Yeah. No. Time to go back inside.
I was inside. I was in my room looking out the window.
Nope. Time to leave my room.
And but which is weird because the funny thing is the house that my dad had bought and was living in was actually the family that owned it before us actually owned the house next door. And what they did was they would use our house as kind of like a show house. So the place was just had like a gold chandelier, all kinds of crap. When before we moved over, and I don't even know what happened to that family. I know for a while we kept getting mail about some kind of like medical care that they were avoiding paying for or something, but that was the extent of it. Like I don't remember ever hearing about that family ever again. Um, and the thing is, you wouldn't think the house would be haunted because it was brand new, basically. and we bought it in the early 2000s. It was built, I want to say, 1999. So the house and the property, as far as I know, never had any reason as to why it would be haunted or why it would have any issues. Like, there was no Native American land there. It wasn't some like ancient tribal area. None of that. But somehow, some way, we had things going on. Which I do find it kind of interesting now that I think about it. Why? Because for some strange reason, my stepmom tried to throw out our Native American bust, which my family had because my dad's great grandfather was Native American, was half Cheyenne, or one of the tribes in the Wyoming area anyway. And my dad ended up bringing out to the dumpster and asking me if I wanted it because apparently I've mentioned this in another video, but apparently my stepmom said that she saw the thing watching her. I don't know why it would be watching her, but apparently she saw the Native American head was like watching her with its eyes or whatever. But like I said, none of my experiences have been anything close to what Lich has had to deal with.
You know what's sad?
What?
That story about seeing a red thing that you saw reminds me of a story about my high school days.
Mm.
About me and my friends in the middle of the night going into the woods in a spot where we called the clay pit,
Mm-hmm.
going deer hunting with fucking spears like dumbasses. We got so close. Um, where we were just walking, and we saw in the distance, probably like, I don't know, 100 feet away from us, three like bouncing green orbs
Hmm.
in front of us. The three of us looked at each other, proceeded to turn around, and noped out of there. The story gets fucking annoying though because the friend that we were with was a huge like huge Christian,
Mm-hmm.
so he always invited me to go with him to
Church.
yeah, for their stuff and stuff for their teenage stuff that they did, which I did because why not? Um, and there was a guy there who apparently was part of the military who was I I don't know what he was. I he was in the Marines, but I don't know exactly what he was supposed to do. And he was telling, like, he asked about experiences, and I told that story.
Mm-hmm.
And his immediate response to that was to tell a story about how when he was in Africa, this weird stuff was happening in this house that he went in and was supposed to go in and bless, and he gave the thing of, even though things were happening, that he would make excuses to the point of going, oh, you feel extremely cold in this room because the AC turned on. Even though in the story he told us that that never actually happened, because he told us what these people were saying, and it was just a bad thing. Like, he immediately went like, no.
Basically, something was really, really bad in there, and it was bad enough to make him turn away, basically.
No, he went in there. He literally made excuses and told them stuff where it wasn't it wasn't that. It was in fact something was there.
So wait, he was telling them there was something there that wasn't. I'm confused now. ¿Por qué? Are you saying he was telling them that there wasn't something there when there
Yeah.
was? Okay.
That's what I said.
Maybe I'm just dumb brain not understanding. Got it. Oh, here comes Trey, I think. Come in, Trey.
What do you do when one day it's someone else walks in?
Eh.
Turn.
Welcome, everybody. Trey's back. He's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, we were just doing kind of like a podcast talking about paranormal stuff. So.
Paranormal stuff is stuff.
But no, Mitch was kind of sharing a few of his stories. I was talking a little bit about stuff.
And you just gotta play having Frostpunk in the background?
Yeah.
Alright.
So actually, Trey, that makes the question. Have you actually ever experienced anything?
Let's see. Nothing definitive. I've seen things.
Mm.
But a lot of that could just be tricks of the eye. There was a time when I was a kid in a motel room and I thought I saw a cat when he vanished. There was a nightmare where a witch jumped out of a painting and tried to chase me, but that wasn't paranormal. There was that time I saw some white orby figures out of the corner of my eye, including like a pair of floating clothes.
I mean, that would technically be paranormal.
Now I feel like the odd man out. I ain't seen no ghosts and I ain't been abducted by no aliens.
I mean, I don't think I've ever been abducted by aliens, even though.
I want to be.
No, you do not. I don't think you want Libor to bring out the butt probe.
It's all in the name of science.
Yeah, okay.
The old Cave Johnson strategy. Or Dr. Membrane. Or a bunch of people who all say for the name of science. Okay, 1 second, please.
You doing better there, Trey?
Better-ish. I'm still coughing. Things aren't as muffled, but they're still kind of muffled. I can pop my ears again now. So I guess that's a up, right?
I guess so.
Just take the pills till they run out.
But
Have you ever filled that whole map up before?
yeah, but we were also talking about stuff originally, that things that we actually liked about Ghost Hunter teams and things we didn't like. First,
Definitely. Go ahead.
first, I don't know if you really watched much in the way of that.
When I first found out about Ghost Adventures, I watched a bunch of it. Probably not the best example, is it?
I mean, depends. Like we were actually talking about it earlier seasons. Yeah, it was actually kind of.
Back when he still had no shame calling himself Bagans. But go ahead.
I mean, that really wasn't anything we were talking about.
It's did it feel realer in the older stuff?
I mean, yeah.
'Cause I still remember hearing about the disastrous live thing they tried to do once.
Which one?
The one with the Dybbuk box, where the rabbi they brought said he had read about it on the way here. And I
Or
think at the same time he also tried to summon. I don't know if I can say its name.
what? Zozo?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they were just like, "We got to end it. Things are getting too real. We got to leave." It's like, well, don't call its name out loud.
Well, there's also the problem too that when it comes to modern Zach Baggins, it doesn't seem like he actually does much in the way of the research he should, and he just
Uh, Go ahead.
and it seems like he just goes half cocked a lot of the times.
I did notice back. I actually have a weird thing to talk about. Is how in the early days when people were doing creepypasta readings and the stories were up on the wiki,
Mm-hmm.
the power of suggestion really gets to you when you're young. Like I remember. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of stuff. I promise.
It's okay.
There's a story called Rap Rat. It's a horror. It's a creepypasta based off this old VHS board game. Where the catch is, it was one of those video ones,
Mm-hmm.
and you would have these interludes with this creepy-looking rat puppet. The story went one step further to say that when watching it, you would see horrible things, and then you would hear something stalking outside your house. And on top of that, in what may be the dumbest thing possible, they tell the origin, which was that the factory the puppet was built in, a girl died, and the mother said shouted the name of a spirit of vengeance who possessed the doll. And said, "Whatever you do, don't say its name. Its name is Apparat.
Hmm.
Don't say it, don't read it. That'll give its power. But that's its name." And I remember seeing comments from people like, "Dude, I swear I heard something outside my house," or "Don't worry, we live in a Christian household. Apparat can't hurt us."
Yeah.
Or somebody, when this guy did this really good reading of the NES Godzilla creepypasta, and it has a thing where the monster leaps at the screen. I remember a comment was like, "Dude, I legitimately think a demon entered my house when the red thing jumped at the screen."
Hmm.
I don't think that's how that works. I mean, after all, I've watched Antrim like 4 or 5 times, and I'm still alive.
Yeah. I think it depends. I think
Then again, that's just a gimmick when it comes to Antrim.
we were watching, what was it? Amish Ghost Stories, Lich.
Oh, that had to be fake.
Uh,
I saw the bits and pieces of that. That had to be fake.
I mean, it's not so much fake necessarily, but it's definitely one of those things where
Power of suggestion and and a little bit of ignorance.
it's more like it seems like most of their spirit problems is stuff that they've done to themselves.
You brought
Yeah,
this on.
everything that they did, they caused themselves.
Like we had a child
Except for maybe one.
out of wedlock, and it turned into a goat monster.
Somehow.
And I'm more in the camp that someone got freaky with a goat, but that's just me. I mean, that's scientifically how you make horrible goat baby monsters.
I mean,
Remember, there was a Russian dude who tried to breed orangutan people.
granted that failed horribly.
But if that was the case, it would not have lived past infancy. There, I feel more like.
Well, it's also because Stalin was trying to breed super soldiers to go against America.
I do have some alleged true stories from the church. If you want to hear those.
Okay.
We had a pastor who claimed that there's this little girl who was just horrible. She would bite people, she would go crazy, and they did a church thing, and then she was a good kid again. And then she says, and I know what happened. Her mama said she went to see the exorcist when she was pregnant with her.
I mean, honestly, that doesn't surprise me. Like even in the witnesses, they had like this weird thing of
Like there are people who legitimately think somehow the demon well, okay, Satan is making copies of himself and possessing people who go see the movie. Oh, come on!
don't lean back and stuff, Trey.
How the hell did I do that?
You're 400 pounds, man.
It's a wooden chair.
You're 400 pounds.
You're 400 pounds and you're trying to lean back in it.
I wasn't even trying to lean back. I was sitting.
Any other time you sat in that chair, it ain't broke.
Probably just the last camel that broke its back.
Rip a chair.
Mm.
F in chat.
I'll buy you a new one next Friday.
That's not my chair. That's the apartment's chair.
Then it was old. And it was old when it got here. Does anyone have any flex glue?
Yeah, flex glue, I can fix it, man.
You'd need wet wood glue, and I don't have any of that.
Actually, I think I still have some. From,
I mean, what exactly broke? Going from ghost stuff to how did Trey break a chair?
I don't know. Maybe the demon from Antrim was bad. I talked shit about him.
No.
Oh wait, I know why. No wait, that doesn't make sense. Friday the 13th ended like 20 minutes ago.
Like, holy crap!
Did you get a new work shirt?
Kind of. Look at this, Lich. It literally broke right here at the joist.
I heard it fucking, and I saw it like move forward.
Yeah, that's gonna take some serious wood glue.
The wood glue can't fix that.
It's just I didn't want to sit on the floor because then I look like the orangutan from that one meme.
I mean, we don't even have face cam right now, but
Oh, whoa, oh. Then why is the light on?
because the light's always on the camera. But Yeah, so that's actually kind of common with some church folk where they think that certain types of media can cause people to be possessed.
or that the people who wrote it were possessed by demons when they wrote it.
Even though actually the thing about that is that it was based on a somewhat supposedly true story of a, I don't know if it was a young boy or a little girl that was playing with a Ouija board and got possessed. Something to that extent.
I think that was actually the plot of. I think that was actually what allegedly caused the Enfield haunting.
Hmm.
Then again, I'm going by Conjuring 2, so that might be wholly inaccurate.
Well, no, that was actually a whole nother thing entirely.
Wait, it's the Warrens. That might totally be the case.
Yeah, so I know some people might be asking, what do you mean by the Warrens that might be the case? If you guys don't know, believe it or not, some people might actually not know this,
This may be our most controversial video yet in a few seconds.
but as it turns out, a lot of the authors that wrote the books for the Warrens have come forward a couple years back talking about how a lot of the stuff that they had actually said had happened didn't actually happen. And that they were told by the Warrens to actually
Gussy it up, spook it up, right?
a little bit, yeah.
Which makes you wonder if their whole museum is just because they were kleptos. Or
I
they
don't
just
know. I don't think they were necessarily kleptomaniacs, but
they thought it looked cool, so they made up a reason to grab it.
no, they the artifacts themselves may have some kind of presence, but probably not to the extent that.
Because remember, Annabelle is just a Raggedy Ann doll. Robert was a doll somebody made, and that's why he's so freaking evil. Like, I don't even look at video of Robert the doll because they said that if you don't ask for his permission, he'll curse you. I don't need a curse. I have enough curses.
Trying to say your parents are the curse.
I'll
Oops.
never tell.
It's okay, Trey.
We have been, we do have a biblical plague of rats.
Oh yes, that.
But enough rat talk.
Yeah. But I think this will be it for this video, folks. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you next time. Stay safe, my friends.
We had drama, surprise cameos, and the death of a beloved character, the chair.